Hello everyone, Eddie Moore here. Hope you're all doing really good. Sorry it's been a while since I did a video, but you know who I am. I usually try and put out good content, so I'm not trying to just draw a crowd. I'm trying to lead people to Jesus, and people don't want to get tired of seeing clouds, the same ones, unless it's good. But I got a good audience. You guys are awesome. We're all family. And this is part one of my testimonial. So I'm thinking I'm going to do it in a couple different videos because it's pretty long. But for those of you who've been waiting, here we go. Like Donnie of Daytona would say, hold on to your butts. But anyway, all right. So I was born in Bismarck, North Dakota. That is the state capital. And it's about an hour and 15 minutes from Beulah. I was born March 11th of 1984. I'm currently 34 years old. And I was raised in Beulah. It's a small town in North Dakota. It's about 3,000 people. Well, I grew up my whole life here, raised in a Christian home, went to church on Sunday, was taught about Jesus, went to Awanas. I don't know if anybody of you know Awanas, but Awanas was awesome. It's a church group at a Baptist church, and Awanas stands for Approved Workmen Are Not Ashamed. And what you do is you learn the Bible, you go to Bible quizzing. I went to church camp. God was in my life. I always had a close relationship with him, and I always had a calling. As a young age, I didn't know this, but as in my video about the Days of Darkness dream, Stanley Greason, when I went and seen him, those of you who've seen that video, you know what I'm talking about, but I'll get to that. I was raised in Beulah, North Dakota, two awesome parents. Like I said, they couldn't have been any better of parents, and I am not kidding. My dad treats my mom like a queen. My mom treats us like gold. Yet she wasn't too much of a friend, neither was my father, nor were they too much parents. They were just right. They didn't fight in front of us, nothing, so I have no excuse for anything I'm about to tell you in my life. And for those of you who know me, who've been following my channel, some of you probably know, and I'm going to let the cat out, because to me I'm not hiding anything, and a lot of you know you just are such good people that you say all the nicest things, and why drag someone down? And people have hit me out. But I grew up, you'll know this in a bit, but I grew up in Beulah, awesome Christian home. My father worked at Dakota Gasification. That is the natural gas plant. There's only two in the world. I'm sure some of you have learned about them, but one of them's here making big money. We had money like crazy. My dad was a drug addict when I was young. I didn't know that. They never showed it, nothing. He ended up losing his job, long story short. Did he go to work and was a bad worker? No, he was top dog. The best, most awesome mechanic they had, could take machinery apart like no other. And I know for a fact at this day and age would be sitting on a 6-figure a year not doing nothing. More, a lot of money. He ended up losing that job, which in the end was the best thing for our family because my father found Christ. Praise Jesus, my dad knows Jesus, right? Awesome. Wouldn't want him any other way. And my mom, thanks to my mom's faith saved him and saved us. But you'll find out I got a touchy spot from my family, especially my dad. My mom, of course, I'm a mama's boy, but my dad is just, I'm a boy. I love my dad. I look up to him, in all the guy ways. But anyway, I have one sister, her name's Tony, and she's 2 years older than me, and she's awesome. The best mother, hardworking woman. I mean, wow. Love you, Tony. She's got 2 daughters. Anyway, so we grew up in Beulah. My dad had to travel and do work out of state when he lost his job, and we had to make money. Christmases were no longer as plentiful. But as a kid, you don't notice, you don't care. You want family, all right? Didn't care. Here's where the miracles started in my life. We all have them. You guys have miracles every day. The time when you swerve, oh, I just barely missed that. Don't chalk nothing up as that was lucky. Jesus save you. But my dad ended up having to go away. And it was so sad as a kid. We cried and cried and cried. He went down. He had to work in Salt Lake City, Utah. Because my dad is a working man. He is the hardest worker I have ever met. He's 62 and he outworks 19-year-olds. So for you young bucks out of high school, pick it up. The work ethic has gone downhill big time. The working man out there, you know what I mean. Nobody likes to do nothing no more. Luckily, I carried that trait. That's why I've been successful when it comes to work. Well, we went down to Salt Lake City, Utah, and this is back in 1990, 1991 probably, or maybe a little bit later than that. I can't remember. I was pretty young. But back then, for those of you who remember the American Gladiators, and I'm talking the real American Gladiators, Turbo, Nitro, Sky, they all were big then. They were my favorite thing in the world. Well, we lived in Salt Lake City, and we lived in the ghetto. We lived in a slum. I was the only white kid. Everybody was super nice. There was one group of people, I'm not going to say race or nothing because it has nothing to do with that, but it just so happens they were a different race. But there's a group of people that kind of come out, and the Lord saved me from that many times. But we had one TV with one channel, and all it was like Barney and things like that. But all of a sudden on the TV it pops up that the American Gladiators are coming to Raging Waters Water Park in Salt Lake City. That was our water park. When we went and visited my dad for the summer, we got season passes to that water park. That's all we got, and we lived in a slum, but that was okay. We had each other. They're coming to the water park. Do you understand, as a young kid, I was livid. Well, the whole time there was these black kids in the neighborhood, and we all were best friends, and their families, they weren't so fortunate, and their families didn't love them quite like my parents did, and it was sad, and I felt so sad for them. And I had a couple stay the night one night, and my mom told me she heard me telling them about Jesus, and I prayed with them and had them ask them in their heart. And I am not above you guys. I'm saying I wanted everybody to know Jesus. Why? I didn't understand. You're naive when you're a kid. You don't get it. You want everybody to be happy and know Jesus, right? So these kids accepted their lives, gave them to Jesus. Well, all of a sudden, shortly thereafter, the American Gladiator thing happened. They're coming to our water park. And I prayed and I said, Lord, I don't care. It don't matter. I'm already happy enough that I get to go to the water park and see my dad. But it'd be cool to at least be able to see him. I'd like to see him, Jesus. If not, it's okay. When I prayed for things I wanted, it was just to let him know, I want this, but I don't care. I love you. He was like, he's your best friend. You tell him everything. So lo and behold, you guys know where this is going. This is a little one. This is a little one story I got. But we went down there, and there was thousands of people there. You couldn't even walk. And they had a box the size of a Volkswagen. It was big. It was huge. And I took my one little piece of paper, and I dropped it in. And they shook that box, and we were so far away we couldn't even hardly hear the microphones. And guess who was up front? I seen Turbo is up there. Turbo is my guy. He's my man. He's the one that did the rings. They got a guy on each end, and they swing from the rings, and then they meet in the middle, and they got to tear each other down. Well, I like Turbo because he was clean cut, and he had big old pipes on him, big old arms, and he was just ripped. And I thought, man, that upper body strength, he's the man, And I always thought, he's so cool. There he stands, up in front, my guy. All of a sudden, they draw a name. And they say, sorry, this is probably dumb. I'm choking up about this, but this was so awesome. They say, Keith Moore. My name is actually Keith. My middle name's Edward. That's why they call me, I say Eddie. But they say Keith Moore. And they mispronounced the name, from North Dakota. And I look over at my sister, and she's like, you won. So I'm plowing my way up to the front through thousands of people. My parents aren't around. It's me, plowing through thousands of people. I get to the front. Turbo says, come here, kid. And he throws me on his shoulder. And I'm up in front of thousands of people on my American's shoulder saying, thank you, Jesus. Thank you so much. We won a private pizza party with them at a freaking 5-star hotel. Wine and dine. I got to bring my little black buddies with Ricky and Jesse. Never know. They maybe see this someday. I love you guys, but that was years ago. They're going to see him in heaven someday. I won. Okay? That year, we didn't have money. There wasn't going to be no Christmas. My dad broke it to me. My family. Ain't going to be really any Christmas this year. We're not going to do it. And I was getting into hunting. It was about a year or two after. I was getting into hunting, and I wanted a shotgun. And I said, Lord, same thing. It'd be cool to have a shotgun, I always wanted the nature. I always felt bad when I killed animals, but I found that respect. I mourned them, ate them, and felt a real good thing about life with the Lord. It was never for the kill. Never. And it shouldn't be. But the Lord, we didn't have any money. And right before Christmas, my dad won the exact shotgun I wanted in a raffle. The exact gun I wanted in a raffle. Now, coincidence, right? Yeah, you got lucky. No, don't be stupid. Don't be one of these people like I tell my kid, don't be one of them. Wake up. Realize around you what the Lord is doing. When he's not there, he's there even more. He said it for a reason. I won that shotgun. So my life was based on the Lord giving me handouts, showing me his divine love, because I had devotion. I had faith. I had no other mindset. We are changed as human beings from the mindset that when we were children, and you all know it's so obvious. Even the children nowadays are not the same as children back when the old school values left. I don't know when it took a turn for the worst, but I'm thinking more when computers started entering the schools and around society. Computers, technology. I chalk it up. That's when things started to change. No more going outside. You didn't wait for your one sitcom a night at supper time and watch it, and that was it. You ran around and played down at the river and lit fires and did some boys did and got in trouble and not all horrible bad, but all kids, they get into stuff, and that's what we did. We swung from the rope at the river. We went fishing. We jumped off the bridge. We were never home. Mud volleyball. We did everything. We were never home. And the kids, they don't ever leave home. So I'm growing up and I get older. And I go to that with my mom to a seminar. It was Stanley Greason, and I was totally filled with the Lord. Got the joy of the Lord. For those of you who know what the joy of the Lord is, it's one of the gifts Jesus gives us. And it's where you ask for it, and if you don't, I pray in Jesus' name that he will deliver you and give you the joy of the Lord if you've never experienced it, if it is in his will. Because if you've ever done drugs or been happy for anything or done any or sex or anything along those lines, you cannot comprehend. They say Jesus' love is so strong that God is so awesome and mighty that his presence will basically kill you. You couldn't even be in his presence. Now imagine him pouring a little bit of that on you. When Stanley Grease and I was up front, this was the second time I went to him, I think. I went up front and he walked up to me and said, "You want the joy of the Lord." He knew. And I didn't think nothing of it. This guy's he's a man of God. He knows, like, whoa. Like, geez, you ain't worshiping the ground they walk on, but definitely they have a respect factor in my eyes. They're devout. Hours in prayer. I wish I could say I've spent hours in prayer. I mean, the Satanists, they spend 12 hours worshiping. They are devout. Hence why they get so high up in that, which it's a bad way. But if we were as devout as they were, I've heard testimonies of ex-Satanists, ex-Illuminati that become Christians, that devote themselves like they did then, and boy, oh boy, we are so naive to think that we have to go with any sickness and anything in our lives. And I'm not saying anybody's not trying hard enough. I don't want to go there, or doesn't have enough faith, because you don't have to have faith to be healed or to have God. It's in the Bible. He's done it. It's happened. You don't need faith. God's still there, because if he wasn't, you wouldn't exist, you wouldn't live, you wouldn't make it. We all have him living in us. Just because we don't believe does not mean he's not there. Okay? My beliefs. I guess, I don't know. Anyway. So, oh man, now I lost train of thought. Sorry. So I'm growing up. I go to Stanley Greason, and he walks by and says, "You want the joy of the Lord?" And I said, "Yes." Apparently, when you go to churches and people are falling over, well, I believe that there's a little bit much show in some of the places. People feel led, or that they need to fall over. A lot of them, like, you know what I mean? But is it a real thing? Absolutely. It is real. It is real. You get filled by the Holy Spirit long enough, you will fall over, because I did. my father seen me. When he walked by and said, "You want the joy of the Lord?" I had my hands up and I said yes, and I had my eyes shut. My dad said I fell straight back on a concrete floor with a little, they have the little thin layer of carpet, but it's concrete. I fell over backwards, square on my back, and on my head bounced, and I had no idea. And here's what it was. This feeling of, have you ever been so happy you wept? And I mean like you were weeping. Imagine the glory of God and Jesus pouring over you so much you cannot take it, to the point where I could hardly endure it. I was crying. First, I started crying so profusely, fell back, apparently. I did not know that. And then I laughed. I sat on that church floor and I laughed for 3.5 hours. I was in a different state. I was filled. I can only wish to have that back, and I'm working on it. But yeah, it was amazing. So I grew up, I go to school, all's well, until you get a little older. Things start coming your way. Drugs. That was my fall. My dad was an addict. He's been clean for 30 years. Since I was little, he quit, you guys. My dad has been clean forever. I can hardly remember the day he told me. I was little. He's been clean. The curse followed us. I believe a lot into it. What else would the devil want to get me for, being I want to preach the word, and I want to let it out? He found drugs, and he got me. He lassoed my foot, and he pulled. I ended up getting sucker punched. Broke my mandible. That's why this tooth is missing. Never had a cavity in my life, by the way. You'd find out it's pretty amazing. This tooth got cracked when I got my jaw broke. I broke it on my mandible, so I don't have a glass jaw. It's actually stronger. If you break it back here, your jaw can re-break very easily. I broke it on my mandible. And my first surgeon did a great job. I was on pain medicine for a couple days and I was done. Boom. This tooth was still existing. This tooth had ended up getting cracked when I broke my jaw. They didn't notice it. It wore through the crack. It festered. It needed to get pulled. I went to a dentist. I went to my surgeon first. It was a new surgeon. There was a new guy. He said, we got to take the plates. I got 2 plates in my chin. We decided to consult with the dentist. Dentist said, no, there's not infection down there. It's localized around the tooth. You pull that tooth, the infection's gone. No, you don't. If anything, run antibiotics for a little bit, which I don't do. Don't do antibiotics if I don't have to. I had to this time. Went back to the surgeon and he insisted that we were fools for not getting a surgery. Well, he thought it was going to be an easy surgery, and what they do is they cut you from here. They go all the way along here. They fold your face down. They do their work. They put you back up and they stitch you. Sounds more gruesome than it is. The worst part is it happened over Thanksgiving and Christmas. So, did I get to have all the tables full of German food? No. Sat and sipped on my straw and had my tomato soup and my crackers that were mushy. For 6 months, I ate nothing, pretty much. 3 for sure. Over Christmas and the holidays. That was the worst punishment and the pain. And this guy sucker punched me, but he's in jail now. Doesn't sound like he's getting out for a while. I pray for him because you're not supposed to hate anybody, but he's a violent offender. He hurts people a lot, and he's locked up where he needs to be. Now let's pray that he finds Jesus. Lord, in Jesus' name. My jaw, when that surgeon decided we wanted to go ahead and do the surgery, and lo and behold, he didn't know that there was going to be years of calcium deposits built up on it because, like I said, it's stronger. It grows over with bone back here. No, you got a hinge, cartilage. It doesn't seat right here. Perfect, good break, growing over. So he's in there chipping away, and at the same time, this tooth, I wanted to get one of those rods put in and get a permanent tooth put in. So what they have to do is they have to cut it open. They have to pack cow bone in there. And then that cow bone grows off your jawbone to give that rod more of a bone to hold to. Okay? Simple procedure. He went in there and he had issues. And he screwed me up bad. Life-threatening. I come out of the surgery. First thing I notice is I am in horrendous pain. First surgery I had, The break was not even healed. I went like this, and this part of my jaw would move this way, and this part of the jaw would move this way. Anytime I swallowed, for days I had to sit in the hospital waiting for surgery. I got done with surgery, not a bit of pain, not a bit. I didn't even need to take my pain medicine, maybe the first day. This guy gets done, I am in excruciating pain. And if anybody's had a festered tooth, oh boy, you know what I'm talking about. Horrible bad pain. And it's slamming me, bam, bam. Shooting light in my eyes, white light even. It was wintertime, so I had to take a bandana and tie it around my face and walk around like that. And even the cold would touch it. So what did I do? I started taking them pain pills. I started taking them more and more. And I was excruciating pain. They upped my antibiotics. I called them and I said, what did you do? You screwed me up. And the nurse even said, I'm sorry, you're right. They kept on giving me prescriptions to shut me up. And I didn't know what I was getting into. I was young at the time. I was in high school. Or maybe I was just out of high school. I was probably like 19, 20, I'd say. No. 21. I was 21. And sorry, give me a second. Anyway, with my jaw, and I was eating those pain pills, and I was getting addicted. And they gave me the most powerful antibiotic they could humanly give me without having to fillet me all the way down, across my chest, open me up, fillet me, and completely washed my whole insides out, down to my chest. It would have been horrible. Well, the antibiotics worked. The pain pills didn't quit. I realized I was hooked. I didn't know. I started taking them off the street. Started going to doctors and getting prescriptions. Found people who had piles of them. And I didn't run out for years. I didn't run out. And when you say I'm not bragging, I'm gonna make a long story short. I did as much as you could. And what do Oxycontin lead to? Heroin. When I was sick on the heroin, I had to have something. Methamphetamine. And along with that, every other drug in between. I was miserable. I was dying. My soul was dying. I knew it every day I woke up. I quit every day of my life. And for those of you who've ever gone with drug addiction, don't you ever, or people who haven't, don't you ever judge somebody who's got a drug problem. There are those who are just wicked, nasty, out to get for them no matter what the cost, and then there's those who know that they have an issue but they're stuck, and you just feel hopeless. I was hopeless. I ended up going to treatment many times, but I said, Lord, I want it. And this is kind of a sad story, but I'm going to say it. There was some younger kids, not real, like super young, like 14, 15, but I was 21, 22, and they were probably 18, 17, 19. They were my age, but just a little younger, And we all hung out. Well, I went to treatment and I got out, and everybody, and I the day I got out of treatment, my father asked me, how do you feel? And I was still sick. I was so sick. Imagine the worst flu you've had times 10. And then somebody took a baseball bat and beat everything in your body. And then that restless leg feeling? Imagine that so horrible bad, your hair is restless and you cannot sleep. An hour of sleep, not even, about a half hour of sleep to an hour of sleep a night for 2 months. I was delirious. I was hallucinating. I got out. I made it another week. But here's what I did. Every morning I got up and I read my devotion. I said a prayer. I reached to the Bible. I went back, and it never went away. The sickness never went away, and it never went away. And I said, I'm going to beat this. And one morning, I woke up, and I basically did a backflip out of bed. The saying, the grass is greener on the other side? Boy, oh boy. 99.9% of this world doesn't know how happy and how good you really can feel. If you think you're healthy and you think you feel good, more than likely you're still sitting down here with everybody else. I went from here to everybody else being here. Well, I was way down here, but everybody else, I was above. The feeling I had every morning on the way to work, I looked at the grass. I drove by the baseball field and was bawling. I remember baseball. Oh, Jesus, I love baseball. Hit a home run, boys. Good game. Oh, man. Everything I did and everywhere I went was all about love. I was so overwhelmed with love. Divine love. And I lost that. Well, anyway, I said, Lord, let me help all these other people. Because I was an influence. A lot of people looked up to me then. I don't know if it was because I was a BMXer, and I had the skater look or whatever, and it's just, I was always happy. I was always nice. People liked me, back then. And these kids if I said, Lord, lead them to me. I want to help. So this young gentleman called me out of the blue and he said, Keith, I don't know what, I need you. I need what you got. I'm in a bad way. I need you. I need you to help me. I want you. Whatever you do, I want to do too. It's working for you. If it can work for you, it can work for me. I didn't take offense to that because I was the worst drug addicts and I did more drugs around everybody else. And it's not to brag, it's just the devil was trying to tear me down. And what's so weird is the people who didn't believe in God and didn't give a crap if they hurt anybody and were taking young women and getting them hooked on drugs and making them trade for sexual favor. Those people could click along and do drugs just fine. Why? Because the devil knows I already got them. They're coming to the gates of hell. Leave them go. They're doing fine. But when a young gentleman or a young girl or a woman or man, as I was, wants to spread the word of Jesus, and that's their thought as a young child, the devil will take anything and everybody and everything around you and totally try and destroy you. You cannot click along like the rest of them. If it ain't your car breaking down, if you've had it happen, no, one thing after another, and you're not chalking that up as coincidence. You're not. I know dang well I wasn't. I woke up and quit every day for frickin' 10 years. I quit every day. I'm quitting today. And I wanted it. That young gentleman called me and I said, hey, you know what? And I was actually, I can't remember if I was at work, but I was busy. And I said, you hang tight, buddy. Everything's going to be okay. I'm going to call you. You be there. And I was so excited. Yes. If I could just talk to him and he says everything that my whole life of pain and agony was worth it, that I put my family through, it's worth it. One life saved life, I'll feel better. That night, what do you think happened? I went home. And just how one thing after another will pile up and crap will happen, well, the devil will do just the same with the good to deceive you and lead you. And he put me in the perfect position, got me in the right state of mind, and I relapsed that night, and I didn't call that gentleman. And he shot himself that night. And I'm going to have to answer to that someday. And I don't ever really talk about it much. That he's dead because I decided to choose drugs over telling him about Jesus. And not only did the devil use that to end that poor boy's life, he did it to lead me to more drugs. And I kept using, and I got worse than I was before. And what they always say, if you get clean and you go back, you always end up worse. And why is that? Because it says in the Bible that for people who are demon possessed, that want to cast out a demon, that he's going to send, or anybody that wants to stray away from something that he's got that they're doing, he'll send 7 times as many demons, 7 times as powerful to come after you. And that's what he did. And I'm sorry if I didn't quote that right. And I know a lot of people, People are nice, but I'm sorry. If anybody can correct me if I'm saying something wrong, I apologize. I will address it. But that, and I know it's to speak something like that, and that's just what the Lord told me. 7 times as many, 7 times powerful coming after you. And that's what he did. I crumbled. I fell. I was walking death. And when I'm talking that he sent demons around me, I'd go to work and I'd walk by somebody and I was a painter. Their bucket of paint, they'd kick their bucket of paint over. I'd walk by the next guy, he'd be drilling and his drill would slam off the screw. And stuff like that, how you see in the movies or wherever when you walk by and things are just crashing around you because you carry that heavy darkness. That's how many demons I had around me. Everything, I was gang stalked. I still am, but it's better because I'm walking in faith, because of prayers. Kenley, Quinley, all you guys. You pray for me. You guys, your prayers have kept me alive. I didn't show it as much, but I was in a bad way with my family. The drugs haven't been horrible bad. I've been doing really well. But a lot of people think otherwise. Stress was a big one. I've been fasting, trying not to eat as many crappy things. But I'm sorry if I'm navigating this gets boring, you guys. But this is going to be powerful. So he dies. I mourn him. And I think about it, and I'm just going to move on from there because the guilt that struck me. I asked the Lord to send somebody my way. He sent them, and they shot themselves because of me. I'm okay about it now, though I am, and I understand he did it to himself, but you guys got to understand, we are going to be held accountable for a lot more than we know. Especially the people we don't like. We should be telling them first. My life goes on. I start stealing money, not because I want to, not because I felt I had no choice. I blew everything. I wrecked everybody's life around me because they were so worried about me, and I just told them, quit worrying about me. I don't give a crap. I just let me do what I'm gonna do. Leave me alone. I just wanted them to leave me alone so I could just destroy myself. And they wouldn't give up. And they wouldn't give up. And my family and my friends and the prayers, they saved me. And on the other hand, they'll say, everybody thinks I got a nice spirit, but I don't have friends. I don't have any. None. My mom and my dad are my best friends, and my son, my sister, and Kelsey, my wife. Well, we're not married. We're married through the Lord, not through paper. But as my life goes on, I'm trying to go to work at a power plant with a heroin addiction. And I can't get off it. I can't get off it at all. And when I was sick, if I'd use meth, I'd get so out there because I'd have to do so much and I'd stay up for days and I was losing it, along with the heroin withdrawal. And then meth, what the meth does is it makes you not sick off the heroin, and you can come off heroin using meth, but then you're stuck on meth. But meth is not a physical addiction like heroin is. And for those of you, I'm sorry if this is a surprise and if this is too much, and I understand if you don't want to follow anymore and stuff, but this isn't about me, okay? It's not about you. It's about Jesus. Unless you're not saved, it is about you. Find Jesus. My life went on, and I was at work one day, and if you've ever been in a power plant, there's pipes and tanks and stuff everywhere, and they were built 25, 30 years ago. So there's areas where they build stuff, and then they'll build something, then they'll put a tank in front of it and stuff, and you can't get back to it unless you crawl under like a foot gap. Well, my boss kind of knew what I was going through, and I went and I hid. And it was one of those days where I didn't work. I worked every single day hard, all day long, more than everybody pretty much. But some days I was coming off and I didn't have anything and I was trying to quit. And I crawl under this tank and I roll under there and there's just dirt everywhere and I'm laying down and I'm bawling and nobody's around. It's so loud, nobody can hear me and nobody knows where I'm at. And I take my hard hat off and I slam it down and I say, Jesus, why? Take this from me. And I got mad. I said, take this from me. Take this from me now. You said that if I felt guilty and I wanted healing and I asked for forgiveness, that you would heal me. Now own up. Why am I not getting better? Why am I not sick? Or why am I not better? Why am I sick? And I slam my hard hat up against this tank, and the dust goes poof and rattles off it. And all of a sudden I look over, and I'm cramped in this corner, you guys. I'm behind this tank. There's bam, slamming my hard hat. Why, and there's a handrail next to me. And I look over, and underneath the dust, there's something written on the tank. And I'm so mad at myself for not writing the verse down. But I'm going to tell you what it said. It was something from Isaiah, I want to say. And there's a Bible, just like Isaiah 41:7. That's not the one, but I'm just saying that's what it said. And I rubbed the dust off. It was written there 25 years prior. 25 years, or whenever that plant was built, 25, 30 years. Somebody wrote that on that tank for me to see. And what did it say? It'll say, for those who say, this is not exactly, but this is what it meant. For those who say that they are sick and they are ill, will be. But for those who say they are well in my name, will be healed. Did I stop using drugs then? No. Did I stop using drugs I guess I wasn't really a drug addict when we went around the corner and the angels came and guided the vehicle or whatever happened. But I ended up using. I went to treatment over and over. Well, one time I was at treatment. And this is where it gets good. It gets good. This is years later. Basically, I'm going to have to think, I'm going to actually just give you this one detail. I gave you the hard hat one, both the Bible verse. Pretty amazing, right? That's not only it. Before this even happened, things like my car. I didn't want anything in life. I didn't want anything. You know what you want, but I didn't care about all the big campers and boats and houses. I want myself a little place where I can call home, food on the table, and the bills paid, and a decent little car. That's really all I really wanted, and I would have been okay without it. But my dream car was always a Mustang. And for those of you, it's the Fox body. It's 94. I'll have to get a video of it. I still got it. It's a 94. It looks brand new. It's a screaming Banshee. It's got the 5.0 high output in it. BBK cold air induction, Flowmaster exhaust, Jag injectors, pulley system, it's bomb. It's jet black, murdered out black. Awesome. And it was the one car through all high school. I said, I'm going to have this car someday. I'm going to have a car like this someday. And everybody, yeah, whatever. Well, I went car shopping. On my way to Bismarck, I see a car. I pull off the very first exit. Didn't even get in town. Look, there was my car. The exact same one. I went and called my dad. He came up. We stole it from him. The guy just needed to get rid of it. He broke his clutch leg. He's like, I'll take it. Cool. And we're like, we don't want to undershoot you. Nope. I drove it home that day. Paid it off in 4 months cash. And there was my dream vehicle. I had it all. Everything. The Lord guided everything in my life. Everything. He knows exactly He helps me say the things I need to say. I'm able to bring up Jesus and things going on, like with this guy, in just the right way. You don't want to overwhelm people, but you know what I mean? It's just like, I know that He divinely gave me a gift to talk to people about certain things. And for those people, a lot of people, either you hate my guts, can't stand me, and you don't know why. You don't know why. There's nothing to hate. I mean, now I'm going to sit there. I'm not going to say I'm perfect, but I'm done beating myself up. I'm a nice person. There's not, and so it's just the devil working through them. That's what gang stalking is people will be used, and the devil will use them to turn towards you, to take you down, and to not to win their souls. And sorry, I just kind of got lost again. Oh yeah, my car, and just things like that, throughout my life. Well, I went to treatment one day, and I'm going to end it after this, and just to keep you wanting to come back. This is awesome. Minot Trinity Hospital. It's 2.5 hours north of here. They have a facility. It's a hospital. You live in the hospital, basically. You go to treatment. You show up in detox. I showed up sicker. I tapered off as much as I could, but I showed up sicker than a dog. Sat there for about a week, not quite, in the not intensive care, but it's the emergency unit where they monitor you, make sure you're not going to stroke out or some from coming off drugs. I was hooked on everything. But I had the Lord, so I handled it a lot better than most people would have. I thought this time I didn't. Well, Oh, no, I'm sorry. This time, oh, yeah. I wasn't handling it well. The time that I made it through when I was telling you the grass was greener, I handled it well, but I was still pretty sick. Bad. But I was able to handle it well. I don't know why. I was able to hold it down and keep my composure. This time I was not. I was through the roof. Horrible. Like they pinned me down and put a shot in my butt type. Sick. And I do not like to, I don't harm people. I don't like that. I mean, I get anger issues sometimes. Everybody gets mad. I get a little worked up, but for the most part, I'm pretty laid back, you know? And it's just, nobody's perfect. But I'm in there and it's 2.5 weeks into it, boy, and it's getting worse. It shouldn't be. So I'm starting to think I ruined my body while they got these huge glass windows in your room. It's calming, you know, it's nice. And I was out next to that window and I looked up at the sky and I was weeping. And I was back to one of those kind of angry things. And I said, you said, Lord. I said the same thing pretty much. I said, you said that you would heal me. You said, now hold up to your promise. Heal me now. And I held my hands up to the window and I regurgitated out of my mouth. Not a physical fluid, not puke. I threw up all my demons. Was I possessed? No. But when you use drugs, you allow the devil to grab onto a part of you. And the demon and the angels can't beat him off until the drugs wear out of your body. Now, can you fight it and make that grasp not as tight? Yes. Can you make it consume you? Yes. I regurgitated. I was like, no, please heal me now. And I was free. And before this happened, before I went into Minot Trinity Hospital, I'm going to tell you what happened in my life. How low I was. I lost my home. Okay? Lost my wife. My son wasn't living with me or around me. He was fine. But there was a time where I just had to separate myself. I couldn't do it anymore. And I didn't want him around me, so they went out to the farm with grandma and stuff and went with my parents, and he clicked along fine. I called him every night. He didn't know. He was none the wiser. You know, kids know things. He knew something was up, but none the wiser. And I regurgitated this out. I had nothing. I was homeless. I was roaming the streets of Beulah. Now, in a big city, nobody knows you. Oh, another homeless guy. In a town of 3,500, there goes Keith Morgan. Look at him, that junkie. You know? And these are Christians sitting in the diner talking about me. People who aren't Christians talking about me. And you know who the ones that came to me? You know who the ones were? True Christians. That prayed for me and didn't even know me. Just heard about me. I'm driving down the interstate and a lady's praying for me, doesn't even know me, and then I pass her on the interstate. She tells my mom this, looks my mom up and tells her this. Your son has got, you know, we're praying for him. I mean, good people praying, they don't even know me, you know? So thank you all. But I had nothing when I went in there. I was so struck with guilt for cheating my wife. Things like that I had done. Stole from my parents. Taken the relationship of the true father my son could have. No, I did things with him. We had fun, we giggled and laughed, but it doesn't matter how good you do when you're under the influence of drugs. You are not the father or the mother or the sister or brother that you should be. I don't care how good you do. You're carrying a demon with you, and it's affecting something. Your light ain't as bright. Okay? I regurgitated these demons. I was free, and I was so sick. What was killing me mostly was the stress. I was so crippled over with stress. When I breathed, I was pretty much dying when I went in there. I thought I could die. When I breathed, it went, and I shook, and I could hardly breathe. I could hardly get up. I could hardly move. Now I'm thin, okay? But I still got body structure on me. Not trying to show you myself. But I'm a decent sized guy. I was walking death, people. Horrible bad. You would literally probably almost weep seeing a picture of me back then. And I did the first thing. I rejoiced, and I was glad in it. I went to the phone, called my mom and dad saying, God, Jesus healed me. You don't ever believe, you got to come get me. And they're like, we've heard this 1,000 times. We're not coming to get you. I'd been to treatment like 5, 6 times. They're not coming. I said, I love you. I'm sorry for everything. And I called everybody I knew. Nobody would get me, but I said, I'm sorry. If you don't forgive me, that's on you. I hope you do, because I'm telling you I'm sorry. I asked the Lord for forgiveness, and I'm moving on. And I'm not going to feel bad about it no more. And I made amends right there on the phone. Didn't go to class, sat there on the phone, made amends, and said, I'm leaving. Did the stupidest thing I could have done and left. But that's okay, because Jesus is always there. I left and I was walking, and Minot's a 2.5 hour drive. In the dead of winter it was. I had my bags and all this stuff, and I'm walking, and I leave Minot, and I go, and I'm feeling so good, you guys. I'm lit up with happiness, and there's this presence around me. Now here's where it gets good. There's this presence around me, and I was warm, and I had never been happier in years, and I had nothing. I was going home to not even having a place to live, in a town where everybody knows me, and I had nowhere to go, nothing. I only had the clothes on my back, and I was happier than I had been in years. So anybody who thinks things make you happy, it's a false happiness. It's false. It's like putting on 3D glasses and going into the movie theater. You think the stuff's out of the screen, but it's not. It's fake. That's kind of, I don't know if that's a good way to describe it. But all of a sudden, I noticed no one's stopping. I'm hitchhiking. No one would stop. Why is no one stopping? I just didn't. That was so hard for me to grasp that no one was stopping. I stopped and picked people up before. Not all the time, but when I felt led to, I'd have. I've given hitchhikers rides, and I'm not saying I'm better, but I mean, no one stopped. And I sat down on my bags, and there was no cars, and it was getting cold, but I didn't care if I died right then and there. And I said, Jesus, I said, thank you for sending an angel to comfort me. I said, the next one you send, better give me a ride. And I joked. Jesus has a sense of humor too. Yeah, of course he does. And we laughed. I got up, and when I stood up, a car came screeching to a halt out of nowhere next to me. And he says, get in. God sent me to pick you up. Based, not in those words, based, that's what he said. And I was like, what? He gave me a ride all the way back to Beulah. Prayed with me. Took me out for lunch. And it only gets crazier from there. I'm going to end it here. This is part 1 of my testimonial. Hope you guys like it. Correct me. I'm not sure if I said anything that was incorrect, but just know I make mistakes too, but you guys, it gets better. I love you all. Thank you for the support. Keep your eyes to the skies. And don't forget, and what am I going to say? Jesus saves. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time with the family on this channel, Lord, for you have made this such an awesome, warm channel. The number of people has no meaning. It's how nice and how many people are willing to move forward as a family to get to know you, to spread the word. We thank you for your divine protection and love, and I pray for those who have all prayed for me, that you may bless them. In your mighty, holy, and gracious name, amen. All right, love you guys, and part 2 gets even better. All right, this is Eddie Moore, Keith Eddie Moore. I'm out.